the camera and decide while we're on camera. We're on camera. Hi, Jenna.
Hey!
She just landed in, and we're doing our series, which is so much fun.
I literally just landed. I'm about to take my shoes off.
Get comfy. Okay, I think we should talk about, it's a really timely subject, and it's a hard one for people, and it's letting go.
Ooh.
Right?
That's such a good one.
Like letting go, I'm going to get my, hold on. Maybe I'll start this over. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so what it is, I think, is for me, people don't want to let go of stuff, physical belongings, right? And they may not want to let go of food, right? And they may not want to let go of people. So the art of letting in means we have to, it's like a law of the universe, right? We have to wipe something away to create a vacuum.
Right. And it's almost like we have to proclaim in the letting go that it's almost like you raise your self-worth, right? Because you say, I'm ready and I'm taking that leap of faith that it's going to take. You know, by letting go of this, I trust that there's something better that's coming my way. Rather than I'm going to hold on because I don't trust.
I don't trust what I'm going to get. And maybe this is bad, but maybe what could come would be worse. So it's fear and it's not faith.
Yes.
So what it's fear and not faith. So what we're talking about is faith and
trust.
Yes. So here's the thing. It's occurred to me that because, you know, I did raw food videos for years, right? And that's about detoxifying the body. And we know when we eat clean, we get clearer thoughts, we get clearer messages here, we get clearer messages here, just like you were talking about in human design. How can you listen to your spleen if everything's all clogged up? Okay, so
physically and emotionally and mentally and all those things.
So this is a whole vast topic, but what came to me today in my own thinking and then in the daily OM email that came, it was very like cutting the cords. And and I was thinking about cord cutting and how harsh that sounds. And what I mean by cord cutting, I mean like if there's some, and we're not talking about people at the moment, we're not talking about things and we're not talking about food. Let's talk about people and relationships.
Yes.
So,
which is the hardest one.
It's the hardest one
of all of them to do.
It is.
Right?
It's the one that comes last. It's the one you could do the food, you could be regimented, you could declutter, you could do that.
Yes.
When it comes to the people, there's heavy lifting and there's cords involved, and we're corded to the people we love, right? To the people we've had relationships with. My mom used to say, snip, snip. Isn't that funny? She didn't know cord cutting energy, but she'd be like, it's time to let go, Dara, of him or that, and she'd go snip, snip.
Wow.
So, yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Right. So what do you think are the reasons why we hold on longer than serves us?
Such a good question. Okay, the reason is because it feeds us in some way. Not only is our energy going out, but we're receiving something from them, right?
Yes.
So energetically, if we're corded to someone, it just means it could be as beautiful as just love energy going back and forth, or it could be draining energy. Somebody could be like draining you. And if somebody drains you in person, it's like you can feel it, or on the phone, or there's telltale ways to know if somebody's draining you. If you feel down after talking to them, if you feel tired, that kind of thing. And Judith Orloff is brilliant in talking about energy vampires and what to do, and she's amazing. So, but there's...
Or maybe that you feel worse about yourself, like they don't support the highest vision of you becoming great. Like I know there's certain people who I maybe feel like, to put it so crudely, like I feel ugly around, or I feel not good enough around. And not because they've necessarily said to me, you're not good enough, but because they have like maybe, I feel like their energy is judgy or harsh, or...
And you're corded into them because of what? Why would you stay corded in? I can say why I would stay corded into the love, because it feels so good. Somebody's admiring me from afar. It's not very responsible to keep that going. And for yourself, if somebody's corded into you and you're corded into them, and they're giving you you're getting negative, why then would you? Why would you stay in it?
You know what it is?
What does it feed?
I just
feed something. Go ahead.
You know what it is? I think also that loyalty is kind of an overvalued quality.
Ding ding.
in society.
Ding ding.
Just that, you know, staying and maintaining friendships or bonds or whatever isn't always a good thing. And we always like to say, like, call ourselves loyal, or loyalty is a good thing as a friend or as a, you know, daughter, sister, friend, blah, blah, blah. But
yeah.
sometimes sticking around for the negative or for something
Just because you're being loyal or you're supposed to. Mm-hmm.
Or like the shoulds that we were
Because
talking about
maybe
yesterday.
because maybe in some way you'll feel better about yourself by staying loyal, when in reality, weigh that out, like all the negative stuff coming, does that weigh out feeling, well, by society standards, I'm loyal. But here's where the term love from afar comes in.
Yes.
You can love them.
Yes.
You can bless them.
Yes.
But you can also...
Or make a boundary.
Yes.
Or recognize that maybe loyalty is an esoteric concept that isn't really feeding you, but you feel like maybe feel better about yourself because you're told loyalty is good. But when you really think about it, maybe it does start to outweigh, like, the way that you feel around someone does make
if
you,
it eats
like,
into who you are, if it eats into your self-esteem, if it eats into your energy, then at some point, just like you have to say, pancakes are my current life that I desire. You skip the pancakes. This person and my loyalty, or what I say that I want. Like, do you really want it? And if you want it, you have to be willing to let go.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and it's not even that maybe, you know, the things you think you're letting go of are like concepts that have been imposed on you. Like, maybe sometimes I know, for example, I've questioned certain behaviors that I've done, and they're not even behaviors that I picked up because I chose to pick them up. They're behaviors that I picked up because I was told to pick them up, and I've carried them around for decades. And then all of a sudden I look at them and I'm like, oh, that's not something I ever consciously decided was a part of my standards.
Right, like where did that, why, and it's like a aha moment. Like, it could be somebody listening to you speak, and they could be thinking of a certain family member, right? Or a friend, or a coworker that's in their face all the time. And it could be, it could be a lover, it could be a partner, it could be...
Or like, you know, this other one is like long-term friends. Like, we've been friends since childhood. So? That's a big one. Yeah. That's a big one. Yeah. It's like you see so many like articles like, how do I break up with a friend? What do I do? Yeah. And so that's one thing, and then cutting the cord is another thing. So there are techniques you can do, there are practices, there are things you can tell yourself, right? Yeah. So basically mine would be like, what's more important, this that weighs heavy, or the feeling of me being light? Right, and you'd always choose levity, right? Always. It's funny because I've been called many times, like, oh, you know, people said to me like, you go through flavors of the month with your friendships, or you go through so many friends and blah, 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 because when I'm friends with someone, I accept them in fully, you know, and I'll always take the initial bit without judgment. Yes. But if I see that you're going this way in life and I'm going that way, there's also nothing wrong with wishing you well and always wanting the best for you, but also just maybe not that we want to see each other every day. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. No, and that people think there's something wrong with that, but there's not. There isn't. No, it's actually a much lighter way to be. Much. That means whoever you're with, me right now, I know you're here because you want to be here, and that because energetically it's a match. Right. And when it's not a match, and it's happened to me, obviously. Many times, and it doesn't mean I love the person any less. 100%. Right? Like, I wish them well, and I hope, you know, I just want to make sure we're on, which we are, and you're all nestled in the corner there. I just want to make sure it's light enough. When it isn't a match anymore, it doesn't mean that there's one good person and one bad person, or that there's right and wrong. It just means that, like, different places. You're going here and I'm going there. Like, right. Fine. So with a friend, I've just been like, okay, that, and how you know is if it feels bad when you're on the phone, usually not when you're with the person, it's usually after they leave or after you leave. Like, what do you feel like? If you feel lifted, like we have been after every single one of our videos and our time together, if you feel lifted, you know you're having an energetic match. If you hang up the phone with someone, or after you leave them, you feel drained or bad in any way, that's a signal to say, check, okay, got that. It's kind of like
I'm so adept at it that even at a party or a function, or even sitting in a lecture hall, if somebody sits down next to me and I don't like their energy, I just simply get up and move. Like, I don't even think about it. It's almost like it doesn't even look like anything because it just happens so effortlly.
Yeah.
It's
and
not
it's
insulting.
Not about blame. Exactly.
No, it's not
about
insulting.
You're bad. It's just like
I just kind of like,
it's not my thing. Yeah.
So and that's one way of self-care. That's a whole nother level of self-care that is far beyond the food. It's far beyond, So I just want to say a quick thing about one of the reasons we don't want to cut the cord with somebody who loves us, maybe somebody has a crush on us, maybe an ex-boyfriend, maybe we are loving somebody who's not really giving it back. There's and I was reading the Daily Ohm, this woman, Madison, had a beautiful explanation of how to do it, and it's similar to how I've done it before. I've had help doing it, like you could have somebody helping you to cut the energetic cord. So there's a lot of cords that come from here, and they go out to another person, and there's lots of them. So you have to identify which is the cord to that particular person, and you can visualize it and just neatly snip it. And if for some reason it doesn't snip, and I liked her take on this, then it's just not meant to yet. You know what I mean? There's some more learning, there's some higher good, we don't know why. It'll snip when it wants to, but it's kind of like the same practice of, let's say, I remember once, I'm like, I can't get this person out of my mind, this man, it just won't, like, he was like a soulmate kind of guy, but he couldn't step up in my life, and I needed to stop that back and forth. So I remember this one woman, I forget her name, but she was amazing, and she said, picture him walking walking beautifully away in the other direction. Do you know what I mean? Like just walking the back, not coming to you. But so I think that those are the ways to do it, and why you would do it is that if you're corded in with someone who can't be there in your life the way you would like them to be,
or in a way that feeds you back the way that you're feeding them.
Exactly, it goes both ways. You don't want to feed on them, and you don't really want someone to feed on you, and there's a certain point where it becomes energetically correct to do your very best to snip the cord, and it's loving, right?
It is very
it's
loving.
Very loving. It's very trusting, because you're saying, I don't need this cord to be okay, I don't need their...
I'm not codependent. My value is not being placed on someone else's attention, energy, approval, blah, blah, blah. It's very much like, I'm doing the right thing by me, I'm going to be my own best friend, right? If you do it with that consciousness, it's amazing.
And it's having faith. It doesn't mean that the person won't be back in your life, or that you can't ever be with them. It just means that it's kind of like sweeping the floor. Like, I'm cleaning house. Like I have faith, and
it's so true.
It's a big one.
And it is so much about, like, you don't need to do it the traditional way of, like, he's a this or she's a blah, blah, blah. Like, she's such a bit, like, use that word.
You don't have to make them bad.
No, there's no good and bad, guys. It's just like, oh, there was something funny about the energy that we shared.
Or it's not working anymore, or it's not reciprocated, or it's taking up space.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's taking up space. It could be as simply as this... Because like, let's say you're on the phone. This is like a perfect example. Let's say you have a best friend or boyfriend or somebody that you're on the phone with all the time. Like, they're the person you call all the time when something happens. And let's say that person goes away for whatever reason. All of a sudden you're left with something blank, like nobody to call. You can be sure that there will be in your life at some point in time somebody else you're communing with in that level. So it's like just clearing the space so that the right action can happen.
And we can't mistake, when we're in that middle, we can't mistake the space for being lack. Because the space is actually the most promising, most receptive, most right for
any possibility.
It's such an exciting time. So it's almost like I try and reframe when I feel like there's a lack or there's a space. Try and reframe that as being like, wow, this is the most creative, right, juicy, like, it's almost like the peach. It's like perfect, like time to like bite into it.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
It's great.
It's scary to some people, right? To all of a sudden have created a hole or a vacuum, or like there's no more furniture in the house and there's no more friend to call up, and it could feel sketchy to people, right? Like,
you're very comfortable there, my friend.
Am I? I do it. So there's been a couple of times, that's funny, like I do it and then I sit there and I'm like, what have I done? This place is empty,
Yeah.
And even for me, who's pretty practiced at it, it can get weird. Like when you do it, just I want people to understand that it does feel weird. Like it's not like you get rid of all your clutter and then you're like, woohoo. You're like, you get rid of all your clutter and you might feel like, what have I done?
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. I mean, the trick is, I guess, to just like sit and feel your way through it. If it's uncomfortable,
I think you're good at it too. I think you're good at it too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not. I'm not as kind of. I sometimes need a little more push, you know. But the one thing that I always try and do if I'm trying to get rid of something is to make sure that, okay, let's say I'm getting rid of a thing or a cord with a person or an energy or a codependence with somebody or whatever.
A relationship. Okay.
I try to not make it about that one thing, because let's say it's a relationship. Okay, you could be getting rid of the guy, but actually that exact same guy is going to come back in a different disguise if I haven't cleaned what's actually needing to be cleaned, which is the thing inside me that's attracting that guy, or the belief that is perpetuating that thing coming back in. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I could make that person the bad guy, but also what is it in me that I need to clean? Yeah. That's a real letting go. Is like, what's the part of me that feels like I need to be in a relationship to be a girl that is what, you know, like this type of girl, or what, you know, like I need a guy to protect me, or I need a guy so that people will think of me in a certain way, or, you know, I need this kind of guy who's like super masculine, or you know, whatever it is. If I don't clean those beliefs when I clean the actual form that it comes in, then that's just going to keep coming back at me. So, you know, it's like when you see people that end up with the same relationship over and over and over again, it's like, maybe you need to take that time, that emptiness in between, to say, okay, well, what can I clean inside me so that it doesn't keep coming back? Because then you clean that karmic lesson, you know?
Hopefully. You're an advanced creature. You really are. Like I've seen you in action, and it's very like you have the ability to see and to act. I don't know if you can shed light on, you know, what it is.
I think the main two things that have helped me so much is trust that if I'm doing something and if I'm let's say cleaning up as I go along my energy. So I don't want to be like, for want of a better word, I don't want to be shitting bad karma as I move through life on other people or on other things.
So you're mindful about your karma and your energy and what you do, how you leave other people. Okay.
I don't want to be judging. I don't want to be saying you're bad and I'm good. I just want to be seeing, like, you know, kind of what you were saying yesterday about knocking. We're all just knocking around doing the best we can.
We're knocking around doing the best we can. I'm gonna finish because I don't want to interrupt you, but I have a thought. So go ahead.
Yes. No. Please.
Well, it's kind of like, I want to be specific because I'm so Virgo rising.
Yes.
I like specifics. Like I actually saw you decide somebody behaved a certain way, a man, and you went, that's really not going to work for me. And you were able to do something that it took me years to be able to do, which was just simply look at it and go, yeah, nope, I'm not going to carry on with this. You didn't vacillate really. You just, you saw it clearly and you acted. Yes. And you acted beautifully.
Thank you.
Beautifully. It was just like such an inspiration to see.
Oh.
A lot of women or people can't do that because they second guess or something pulls out them. Was this particular situation, or is that how you...
That's kind of how I do things. I think the thing that has helped me also as well, which is kind of a human design concept as well, is like, you know, this ability, like kind of what we were talking about yesterday, to not be so involved of your own story. So sometimes, because we're so caught up in how my reaction is and what's my, you know, I'm like so in my own like movie that I'm telling myself about what's going on, is sometimes just creating that pause in between and taking a step back and saying, oh, okay, if I'm just watching me in this situation and I'm watching this person, if this was my best friend, if I was my best friend and she was being treated like that, would I be cool with that? Because sometimes we'll put up with things differently when it's us, right?
Totally.
So in that situation, when that happened to me,
great tip.
I was like, would I allow Dara to be treated like that? Would I tell her to get out? Of course I would.
Of course, you'd be
so
like,
then it's
that's just not going to work.
Yeah. Whereas like with us, I think all of us think that we can handle more pain than other people in our lives can. Which is actually, we think that's us being strong, but that's us also not treating ourselves with the care and the love and the tenderness.
That's huge.
That we deserve. Huge. You know, like I would never do, like would I treat a child this way? No. Would I treat my best friend this way? No. you know, so why would I put up with it? I'm just as special of a soul, and I deserve just as much, you know, softness and like, you know, fragility.
That's so cute.
You know?
Yeah,
like
that's really nice.
I would crumble inside if someone went through some of the things that we think it's okay for us to go through, but we just tough it out because we think that's
tough
good.
it out, and we tough it out, and sometimes there's karmic things and you just can't. You think you're going to get out of it and you don't want to tough it out, but sometimes you just have to go until you're done.
Well, that's the other thing.
You're done, but
Yes.
I've seen you avoid a lot of that.
But
it's refreshing.
But I will say that someone said it to me, funny enough, a while ago, and it was one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever received, which is don't finish until you really feel you're finished. So sometimes academically we say, oh, I should stop now because da 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 da.
Yes.
And actually, you just keep going back.
So
There's any doubt in your mind.
Yeah, you were academically finished.
Yes.
Like you reached a point where you just got it.
Like I for sure won't have any regrets if I finish now.
Right.
Whereas like if you're pushing yourself to prematurely let go because everyone else all around you is telling you, you know, you're better than that or you should rise above it. No, just like fall and keep falling and keep falling until you're finished.
Right. So I must have seen you at the point where you just were like, that's it.
That's my last fall.
And I liked seeing it. It was really like, wow, that's so just, a woman taking care of herself and being like, I'm going home and I'm taking care of this and that's that. And it was all done beautifully with love, but just, wow, like girl power. I really liked it.
Well, it's funny because I think I have such an aversion to, you know, I think a woman in her power in particular is someone who does things powerfully and with strength and with conviction, but still in a feminine way. I've been lucky that I've seen women who were powerful in the world and were in their own power and were themselves in an integrity without having to be like aggressive and pushy and forceful and lean into that too much of a yang energy.
Right.
Like you can say, this is my truth, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, that's so pretty. That's so pretty and so soft and so feminine and so strong.
Right.
It's the strongest side of the feminine, really. It's delightful. I mean, actually, what I'm saying right now is I've seen you break up with someone and been in awe. Like, it's such a funny thing. Like, I was just like, look at her go. Wow, that's just so, you know, well done. Well done.
Thank you.
It's really, it was inspiring and continues to inspire. So when we, really. So when we get to see our friends or our family doing something that looks like something that we didn't know existed or kind of knew existed, but we got to see it in action.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
We're like,
That's
yeah,
why
it
I
exists.
said to you, it's like something that I always wish to be true becomes true. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I said what we have is like something that I'd always wished to be true, and now I can see that it is true.
It's true. It's the thing you hope for. That you said that. You said I always wished it to be true.
And now I can see that it is a real thing that can exist on this planet. Like it's like your things that you think are only a fantasy or a daydream or like a fairy tale, and you're like, oh my goodness,
it is true. And the more you know that it's true, it's just it exists. So then it just matters like who is next, what's next. But I have this, and it exists.
Yes,
it exists.
And it's so funny because the faith comes before the seeing that it's real.
The faith comes before. It's so true. I've been holding out for a number of things in my life. A number of things, meaning relationships like the one we have, friendships like the one we have,
having the home, having the daughter, having the, you know, the clean, clear and bright, and like, you know, always the next level. Like everything comes from like, I've got to imagine that this can be available to me, and I know that the universe will get me there, and I just have to do my part, which is like this much, and the universe will do all of this.
I do think that I can be that now, right? Like I can be that. That's cool to be able to be. And somehow deep inside I always knew it could be, and if it was anything less, then I just didn't want it. So, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have fillers, or I didn't stay in things that didn't belong because I lost faith that it exists.
Yeah.
I was like, well, it's not what I imagined to be true, and I really pray that what I hope to be true does exist, and I keep getting closer, and I keep getting rewarded, and it happens. So,
and it perpetuates your belief in the fact that that's how the mechanism works, right? The more you do it. But it's funny because I've met tons of people who wouldn't necessarily be into, you know, spirituality, or in the way that, you know, we talk about it, or have the languaging that we have, or be so into all the extra tools, like, you
all
know,
the fun tools.
Yeah, but the thing is that they believe that they're so worthy of good stuff that they just naturally bring in good stuff, and those people are unicorns to me, because I'm like, how do they do it? But they just have such a high bar for themselves of what they expect, that the universe just keeps on
That's
bringing
the
them.
thing. Actually, that is a truth. Like, whatever you expect that you deserve, you will have. Whatever you believe to be true will be true.
Mm-hmm.
It just will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can say I have friendships that are this sparkly
Yes.
and this connected.
Yes.
I have at least one. But I have that. I have the ability. I have the sight.
Mm-hmm.
I have the sight.
Yes.
That's really what it is. I
Yes.
see this to be true.
Yes.
That's what it is. Because it's not just one or who. It's like, I see this to be true. This is the level in which I operate.
Yes.
I don't do anything I don't want to do.
Yes.
I only do what I want to do. I only commune with who I want to commune with. And I will do so with joy. I do so with joy. Zero obligation.
That's making me like mush inside. It really is. It's so amazing though.
Yeah.
And literally, the difference between someone like you and someone who can't give themselves permission to operate like that, I've been there and I still have ways that I am there, is literally, am I going to choose to do that or that? You
Yeah.
know, there isn't some kind of like thing that needs to happen outside of me other than just the decision for me to say, I'm just going to try and only do the things that align
Jen,
with me.
Yeah. I just thought of my secret. I just thought of what the secret is. The secret to the blessings that I have in my life has been the ability to let go.
We've come full circle again.
Once again, the ability to let go, and I can give a specific. I hate giving specifics. Like, it's personal. When you give a specific about your life, you're like, should I really? Let's just say if someone is in a battle, divorcing, and somebody doesn't want to let go because they want to get more than they're being given, or more, and they don't want to let go. They stay hooked in hopes of getting more, but in reality, they're getting less because they're not letting go and receiving. So I have seen many times in my life where I could have been hooked in. You could always go for more or hope for, but you're staying energetically hooked in and not allowing the universe to give it to you in another way. I have let go countless times.
Yeah.
Career, relationships, belongings. It's letting go. I think that's the secret.
I agree.
I think that's the secret.
When you do this, you can't have this.
Right.
Like you can't do both at the same time.
We're still on.
do
No, the
both
secret is
at the same
letting go. So wouldn't that be just the practice? Just like any practice is letting go of extra pencils, letting go of a pair of shoes, letting go of that cheeseburger, or letting go of that thing that you think you need that you don't need. And then it becomes, and I want people to know that when you're engaged in any kind of battle with another human, you are staying connected to them. So I don't care what you say, if you're engaged in a fight over the children, over the money, and believe me, there are certain times you need to stand up and be a warrior and stand up for yourself. So I'm not saying don't stand up for yourself, but the longer you stay engaged, the less you can experience the life that's waiting.
And yes, you're right. There are times when you need to stand up for yourself, but also sometimes I know I've stayed in a like some kind of energetic exchange because that drama feeds my value in some way. Like, you know, I have this story to tell, or I have this drama that's filling myself up, so it's making me feel useful. You know what I mean? Whereas actually I'm scared if I'm doing nothing.
That's such a good point. A lot of people create drama because they don't want to take a look at themselves. They
just don't want to feel like their days are empty.
Their days are
the
empty.
emptiness is scary, right?
Yeah, it comes back to the emptiness being scary, the vacuum being scary.
I think the vacuum is scary because you go, now I have to look
Now
at me.
what?
I
Now
have
what?
to sit with me.
Ooh, what have I done? I'm alone.
Yes.
I'm
And
alone.
then
What have I
we're so
done?
afraid of the job. But here's the thing. When you get to that place, I think people think that place is scary because they're going to be faced with a lot of self-judgment. They don't want to look at themselves because they are going to be their harshest critic. But this is where you can now say to yourself, I know that that's not scary anymore, because if I get to that place, then I promise that I will look at myself with love, like my best friend or like a
That's
child.
a beautiful thing that you're adding in here. I don't know, I don't think I've ever verbalized that, because I've had okay, everybody, if you declutter your whole house, you might sit there and feel really weird or sick. What do you tell yourself, right? Like, it's juicy like a peach, like you said. Like, it's an opportunity for creation.
And that's the time when you can become your best friend.
Yeah, that's so cute.
It's in those times where I've learned love, self-love. Like, I know self-love is so bandied around and it never really made sense to me before. I'm like,
make sense of it. Can you make sense of self-love?
Well, self-love to me is so...
Yeah, make sense of it.
It's so like, you know, funny enough, I spent a lot of time reading about self-love and all these articles and all these people talking about it and whatever, and it would make me feel worse that I didn't know how to do it. You know, and the more I read about it and the more spiritual kind of parlance and information that I took on, it just felt worse and worse and worse, because it felt like another thing that I had to tick off my list. Self-love, I have to learn how to do that. And I was like, no one's just putting this into like a practical thing for me.
Practical.
So for me, it's really about like understanding that I am made of the universe, right? Like, I'm not this terrible creature. Like, we're all made of the universe, all made of the same stuff. We're all a child of whatever you want to call it, God or whatever, high spire, anything you want to say. And so there's a part of me that's divine, and I would rather live in a world where I believe that that is the truth.
Me too.
And that all the shit that's on top of that is stuff that I can clean.
Yeah.
And like we were saying before, like, what you want to believe to be true kind of is true. And ultimately, do I believe I'm a good person? Yes. Do I believe that most people are good people? 100%. And so if I believe that you're pure and beautiful and sweet, then I by default need to understand the same thing about me. Like, it can't be different, right? So when I'm by myself, you know, I kind of speak to myself with that tenderness, like, you're good, you're doing the best with what you know, like, keep going. How do we help you?
That's so sweet.
Because otherwise I'm believing different about the world around me than what's within me, and that's not one of the spiritual, it's not one of the spiritual
you have to have
rules of the universe.
Right, you have to have right action and right speech to yourself, just like you want to have it with other people.
Yeah, and as without,
that's a big
so
one,
within.
right? Like catching, as without, so within.
Yeah.
It's a big one, catching yourself not being nice to yourself, right? Like, I think we have these thoughts that we don't pay attention to because they're just so there.
Yes. And when you clear the space and you're on your own, you're like, holy F, do I think that? Do I really say that to myself? How can I do that?
Right.
That's like abuse. That's like self-abuse.
Totally.
You know, and I'm not saying anything, I was never saying anything worse to myself than most people who think they've grown up with no issues of, you know, I'm not someone who's been through a terrible story, but there's certain things that I don't tolerate in myself, or don't allow myself to feel, or, you know, tell myself that I don't deserve, or, you know, just the general things, just like average things.
Yeah.
And then you catch yourself and you're like, how was
am I talking to myself? Like, you can notice your level of anxiety when you're by yourself. You can notice your level of the things you tell yourself, and what you do and won't do for yourself. What will you do for another person? Like, you notice if another person's there, you make this beautiful meal that has colors on the plate, but if you're by yourself, you just stand at the refrigerator. Like, no, we need to start treating ourselves like we would treat another beautiful human that we loved. So,
because it's the same.
Yeah.
We're all, not to sound kind of super airy-fairy, but we are all the same. And my attitude, my thoughts are going to go in my energetic aura, whether they're about you or whether they're about me. So if I'm making a decision not to judge everybody else because I don't want to leave spiritual, I don't want to be shitting bad karma as I go, I also don't want to be doing that in myself, because, by the way, who has to live in me? Me. So that's the worst place to put bad karma.
This is so next level. This is like, forget the food, just eat the raw food, eat the cooked food, eat healthy food, and then time is of the essence for this sort of thing.
Yes.
Time is of the essence.
You know, and you hit the nail on the head, actually, if I can give a specific example about myself. For years, I prided myself on being a non-anxious person. For years. Okay, I was like, that is not me. I was so detached from that even being a possibility of a quality that I had in myself. And I was prided myself on being a non-anxious person, because I'll tell you, relatively, I wasn't compared to other people. I was doing the comparison thing. So I was like, I'm not anxious, not an issue I have to deal with. when I had to sit with myself on my own, with no phone, with no people, with no communication. I did 7 days recently of no.
Did you?
Yeah, no mobile.
How nice.
Switched on. And I realized, wow, I have so many latent anxious thoughts that relatively seem quite chilled compared to my Instagram scrolling. Like, that seems chilled. But when I remove the relative things that I get to compare it to, wow, I don't necessarily want to be sitting with that stuff lying in the background. But now that I can bring it to the forefront and see that I, for example, give myself a hard time about not achieving stuff in the right timeline, ooh,
Right.
that's not perfectly aligned with the fact that I trust in the divine timing of things. So there's a discord that I'm putting out to the universe. Or I'm anxious when I wake up about maybe getting back to people on time, or maybe rushing, because rushing makes me busy, which makes me productive, which makes me worthy, which makes me,
show up for other people and be pleasing, or whatever it is. So fascinating. I think we could all use for a little shutting off of the computer and the phone. And I mean, there's periods like where you could go and, well, you can't read a book. Like, a book is even, a distraction. So that's rare that people have the time or space to do that. Perhaps an hour here or there, we can just shut everything off and just sit with ourselves. And
and even if you can't, if you notice a negative thought, just be like, it's okay. Let's reframe this. I've got my own back. Let me help me. Just gently cure it, gently heal it, not self-berating or as you say,
that makes it worse, right? Like, if you self-flagellate because you're being hard on yourself, then you're just being hard on yourself. What I really admire about you, what I really like, and what I really think is so important is that when Jenna and I'm 50, Jenna's 30. Okay, so I feel like we're sisters. It's timeless in ages. We are, and yet there's things that I've experienced because 20 years earlier, there was a notion that to get fixed, you'd have to go for Freudian therapy, right? You'd have to get therapy. And then all of a sudden, it was like therapy, and figure out what went wrong, and go back, and go deep. And then there was like this thing, behavioral therapy, and I love that, because that's like, get to the point, fix the problem, love that. And now I feel like you can almost look at a thing, and then it's gone. Like, you don't feel like it's going to take forever to let go of. You know what I mean? It's almost like you have this knowing that it is an issue, and if you shed light on it, it can go as quickly as you shed light on it. And not everybody thinks that. And I think that's a really, really, really cool way to be at this time when we need this stuff now.
Or when you.
So I don't know if you know that you're different in that. Like,
oh, that's interesting.
People think it takes so much work, and they gotta work, and they gotta think, and they gotta therapy, and they gotta work it out. And I'm like, not so sure. I think it can be as quick as like, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the nature I get from you.
It's like when I do
This better be taping. That's all I.
Well, it's funny because when I do people's human design
We're
charts, I say to them, it's literally, like I'll do someone's chart for an hour, and they're like, so how do I do this? And I'm like, you don't have to do anything. It's just about saying what something is right now and saying, I wish for it not to be this way anymore. And it's literally that, like, this path is this way, and it's literally you go slightly, 1 degree turn.
Yeah.
And then
that's how
you go down, and the distance
things
is so quick.
Change.
Yeah.
That's a gift that you have, just so you can be aware of that.
Oh.
Not everybody has that, and I do believe that to be the truth at this moment in time. And so the belief that it takes a lot of work is just a belief. It can be as simple as anything. I've done this in the past. Oh, I always do this. I hope I can stop doing it. It's like, no. You've done it in the past. You don't need to do it anymore. If you want to, carry on. But it can be as simple as, I think so. I think so. I think that's the new way of being.
I like to believe
if that makes sense.
I like to believe that that's true. I like to believe that it doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be drastic. It doesn't have to be an overhaul, because I know I'm not good at overhauls.
It sounds like work.
Yeah.
Right? You come at it with a refreshing, like, oh, I saw that I was anxious, and it's like moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of Avatar-like, I have to tell you. It's a different type of being that doesn't need to make it work.
Well, I'll tell you that when I was let's say 6 years ago when I was exploring spirituality and what it was, and I thought it genuinely was this thing that I had to achieve, it just felt so difficult to me, because I just was like, if this is going to be another stress that I have to add to my life, I don't get how this is spirituality. Like, this is meant to make my life easier, and yet why do I feel like it's so unachievable and it's so far away from me? It's going to take so much work.
You have to be older and you have to be wiser, and it's just...
Or I have to wear white all the time, or only do this, or meditate every morning, or all these things.
Right. The list would be too long to do every day. It would be like the list of things that you could eat to make yourself better every day. You couldn't possibly fit them in to one day, and that would be pressure, and then you feel bad about yourself for not doing all those things, and that's not really what it's about. You could do all the dry brushing, all the rebounding, all the sun shining, all the this, and then you're end of your day, you're like, okay, did that, but I'm not necessarily happy or closer to spirit.
Yes.
So the spirit is...
And you know, spirit, to me, is always kind, all forgiving. There's always a new opportunity. It's always there to catch you. And really, what I think we're all here to do is to act like spirit, act like the light. The more we can emulate what the light is, that's real us growing as people. So
that's so pretty.
If that
the more we can emulate what the light is, that's just a quote. That's just so beautiful. The more we can emulate what the light is,
we're all here to just act like the light. So
I'm mesmerized. It's so fun to be in that state where you're like, it raises the consciousness. Like, I can literally feel lighter just discussing the fact that it doesn't have to be so hard. It doesn't have to be so hard. And it's just an act of letting go. Like letting go of the idea it has to be so much work, or letting go of the idea of spirituality is out there and not in here. It literally is as simple as gazing into someone's eyes and seeing the spirit in them. Then it's like, it's as easy as going, wow, it's going back and forth right now. It exists without me doing anything, with just looking, right?
Oh my God.
All I have to do is look. That's how unwork it is.
It's the best.
Yeah. I think that's, it's, because if you ever ask me what makes your day good, I'd say connecting eyeball to eyeball with somebody who gets it. Somebody who's, it's connecting with the person, connecting with the eyeballs, connecting with the spirit. And that can happen at Whole Foods. It can happen anywhere you go.
Yeah. If you're not, and I guess the more unclogged you are, the more
present you are. The more you just say, I'm gonna look. I'm just gonna look.
And it's almost like you're allowing life to control you rather than you.
Agenda, like, I gotta control it, I gotta get this, I gotta run out of here, I gotta go. What if you didn't run through Whole Foods and you stopped and you did look at the person checking out your bags and you really looked at them? You know, what if you had that moment and you knew that that person felt that too? That's a reminder that spirit is here.
Yes.
I think
people
I
do that all the time. I always block off. If someone starts looking at me, I'm like, ooh, maybe it's the English in me. I'm like,
I think it's
don't
English.
get too close to people.
Women. I also think you have Indian heritage. You have that. That's very, it's like common there. Like, I'm not looking. Yeah, it could be New York City people don't look, but I've developed I will look into somebody's eyes. I will look.
And then you never know what someone might see in you and be like, hey, what do you do for a living?
They see something. They see something. They see love. They see something, right? Or you never know where it can go from there, but at least
you've opened the doors.
You've kind of just showed up, right? You showed up.
Or maybe if you want to put it in the frame of letting go, you've not thought that it's so important to protect yourself, and you've trusted that people are good, and that's why you're open to having an eyeball to eyeball, like you said.
Yes, and if you feel that they're not, don't do it. Like, don't just go staring at. If you have that's funny. Like, I'm an energy sensitive, so I can I feel when somebody I need to move away from. So those in that situation, you don't want to do that. But if it feels safe, and you know when it's safe,
then you do it with trust.
And you know you're protected. So it's letting go of a lot of social taboos and letting go of.
You did it recently. you didn't frame someone as being a bad person
Yes.
just because they did something that traditionally would make it socially acceptable for you to say, oh, this person is this, and instead you were like, they just have to do with what they feel they need to do, and it's not about me.
Yeah, I didn't feel less than. I didn't make it about me. I made it like, oh, that's what they need to do. And it was, that moment in time where you hear that thing you don't want to hear. Maybe you don't want to hear it. It's not the best thing ever. And your immediate, it's not what you would hope for and intended for yourself and the two of you. But then you hear that thing and you can go to that place where other people might go, judgment, or and then, or you can just stay open. It's really was awe-inspiring to take the root of the love and be rewarded with more love.
Yeah.
It's so much more graceful. Grace descends when grace and love and truth.
Yes.
It's like, what could be better? When I tell the story of what happened, I just told it to Danielle, neighbor, who's also a projector. She just had to hug me immediately. Like, she looked at me and started, like, she was like, I have to hug you. You are love.
Wow.
And so isn't it good to just be love?
Be love. And look, everyone's gonna get it wrong. It's not like you make the decision.
Get it right.
It's not like you make the decision to veer off and you go like, all of a sudden life is like, angels and unicorns. It's one thing at a time. But what matters to me for myself is, am I getting it more times? Am I making the good choice more often than I was before? And if it's even one more time than I was before, then I'm like, okay, you're doing a good job. And even if I'm doing it less, I'm like, okay, I'm in a phase where I'm finding it more challenging. Maybe this is because I'm at my next level. Just keep going. Like, as long as you have the awareness of that's your intention to keep making the right choice, then bring yourself back to that. And I applaud myself for that. And I applaud, that's where I'm like, keep going. Like, it's great that that's your intention.
Yeah. You know what helps me? When I retell the story. When I retell the story to myself, but really out loud. Like, when I retell you that story, I can feel the same love that was in my eyes at the time that it happened. So maybe,
So sharing the experience.
Yeah, makes it alive again.
That's really nice. And that kind of, I guess that's also of like collective or tribal benefit, in the sense of like what you go through.
Yeah.
You're able to then parlay that, and that helps you. It feeds you back, but it also helps.
It helps other people. It feeds me back because I get the divine love coming through my eyeballs at the same time. Like when my mom passed, you guys, some of you may have seen, when my mom passed, there was so much love in the room that the energy was vibrating from divine love, and to the point where my mom had just passed, and she said, "Mommy, there's no sadness in this house." And when I tell that story of what transpired, it just comes through me. Like, it's like a thing.
Wow.
So I think,
and then I can, for example, if I'm listening to that story, I can get something from it. Like, I get a nugget of wisdom or some kind of something.
Yeah.
Sharing is great.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you can share with people, and your people, like the people that will get it or want it, or
yeah, you don't really want to. Well, we never know who's gonna get it. You never know, but usually I can feel who's gonna be receptive. So this is it's the love. It's the, like, we were like, open. What's next?
Show me where to go. I'm open. I'm getting rid of all this stuff so that there's even more space. Like in Kabbalah, they always talk about the vessel, like being a vessel and growing a vessel, because the light wants to give to you infinitely. And so your job, and it will give to you as much as you have space for. So the more you create the space, the more you can hold.
Don't you think it's so funny? It's so true. Don't you think it's so funny that because I'm Virgo and I'm Capricorn, and because of my human design, that it's been almost an obsession to teach the physical, earthly ways of letting go.
Yes.
Letting go of toxins, making the good food, letting go of the bad food, because look at what we're welcoming in. Letting go of, belongings so that we can welcome in a space that feels so divine. It's like the physical, earthly things letting go, and then here we are doing this series of videos really talking about the whole next level of what all that earthly stuff is to get to. Because people can hold on to their clutter, hold on to the bad food, and they can be spiritual. Maybe they are a heartier individual with more vessel-like qualities. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they can have. There's plenty of people with clutter, and they eat whatever foods, and believe me, they're beautifully spiritual. But some of us need extra physical help.
And you know what? I think that the physical stuff, the physical stuff.
It was like flying around your head, and then I was like, oh no, it's fine.
It was so funny. The physical stuff though helps you feel more literally clear of mind and clear of heart and clear of things. It makes it easier. Like if you want to make your life the choice making easier.
Do you feel the home? Like, do you feel what it's like?
Yes.
Like, when I come into this home and I know that my junk drawer just literally has measuring spoons in it. My drawers are empty. Everything's so that I don't have any static talking to me.
Yes. Well, that's the thing, is you don't want any noise interference because you want to just be a channel for like what's there.
That's pretty much what's happening here. Yeah.
So I agree with you that some people can deal with that stuff, but I also believe that they'd be even happier, or they'd even get an upgrade if they moved into a super clear space. Like everyone knows, like the feeling of a space that makes you just feel so good,
right?
Why wouldn't you want to add that?
And you're right. Why wouldn't you want to have that blank surface space at your table with which to create? Why wouldn't you want to have a closet that's not packed full, or a body that's packed full? It just seems
something that makes you feel expansive instead of
contracted and clogged and chaosy.
Yeah.
I happen to be really sensitive to things that are, and everything is not perfectly in order. It's not like a perfect home, but I'm sensitive to things that are just talking to me. You know, and I don't want them in my way.
Yeah.
I don't want them interfering.
Exactly. It's the white noise that we don't need, whatever form that comes in. And maybe that's the stuff, if we can trust that we can let go of that, something better is going to come in. And that something better is already there. Like it's in a holding pattern somewhere. You know what I mean? It's not like we need to go earn it or anything. It's just like we need to say, okay, I'm ready, come.
Like step into it. That's your immediacy. You're like, okay, I'm just going to step into it. And it's there. It literally is.
Yeah.
We don't know it. We can't always see it.
But if we trust that it's there, then it is there. Right?
Yeah. There's magic around the corner. Magic next door, magic everywhere.
Totally.
There could be magic ringing the doorbell any minute. We don't know.
Just never know.
We could walk around the corner and there's magic. Like, we just don't know. So you clean your space, you clean your body, you maybe do a writing practice. Natalie Goldberg talks about, she's an amazing writer who teaches writers how to free their mind so they can write better. And other people do this as well. It's 10-minute stream of consciousness writing. With writing without your hand ever leaving the paper, so that if you have to write, I need to do the laundry 10 times until you get to the next thought, the idea is that you're clearing the static in your head to get to.
That's interesting.
It's a good one.
Yeah. I did another one that was like, think of a situation that triggers me, and I wrote it down, and then I just kept on writing sentence after sentence of what would be the worst thing that would happen, what would happen after that, and why would that be so bad, and what would happen after that, and why would that be so bad, and why would that, and it basically digs into like all your belief systems that come wacky out at you. You're like, do I really believe
That's
this?
so cool.
Yeah, and you just keep going, and it's almost like you don't let your kind of wannabe spiritual side come out. You just write in a, just get ugly type of thing, and then you're like, whoa, because there is an ugly part inside every single one of us too.
Of course.
So you got to make friends with that ugly side.
Don't shove them under the carpet.
Don't shove them under the carpet. Because
they will run game
as well.
They will run game when you don't even know it. They'll be making you sabotage yourself or stand in your way and you don't even know it. At least take a look at them. Let's take a look and make friends. I want to do that. I want to try that. So say it again. So what you do is...
So you think of a situation that triggers you.
Okay, somebody said something you didn't like.
Something, whatever the first thing that comes to your head, because it always leads to the same.
I just got one. Go ahead.
And then you say, why would that be so bad? And what would happen if that happened? And why would that be so bad?
So you go back and forth between
Those same two questions. I learned that from a friend of mine did that with me, and she got it from a book that was called Shadows Before Dawn. I forget who wrote it.
Do you realize how many tools there are for us? Human design is one, astrology is another, Natalie Goldberg, Dr. Marshall Rosenberg from the Center of Nonviolent Communication. I could go on and on about Marianne Williamson with the Course in Miracles, and we have, I mean, there's just so many people giving us these beautiful pearls of wisdom in which to make our lives better.
Yeah.
We have one sitting here. Jenna does readings for human design. Well, yeah. Say that about myself.
See?
Yeah, I just am. I'm introducing you. Can't sell myself. That's cute. Yes, of course. I am.
We all have a value.
I am here to share the wisdom that I've garnered.
That's all that any of us
and what
can do.
I've learned from.
Yeah.
And what I find works for me.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to say, is that when you said there's so many tools, it's about finding the ones that really ring true for you.
Yeah, what feels
and
right.
leaving the rest.
Yeah, if you don't want human design, don't touch it. You want astrology, yes, no. You like meditation, you like writing, you like running, you like, I mean, Rich Roll, he's like an athlete, doing plant-based whatever. There's so many people that are going to speak to you, you know, in the time that you need.
As soon as you make the decision, I'm going to help myself, I'm going to be in charge of this. I'm the project manager of me getting better. Here's all the tools. Let's put it together in some cool way.
Yeah.
And let's go.
And move on to the next when it's time. Drop one, pick up another, keep one, go back to it. It's
I've
not
done
like
that many times.
yeah, it's not like a
I call it being a spiritual whore. You know, like you just kind of like flirt with this thing, and then you go around that thing, and then you try and like
that, and then back to this. And now I really want to do my writing practice tomorrow. And you know, there's just when all else fails, I take a bath. That's it. Like, it's as simple as that. If I'm all of a sudden by myself and there's a vacuum, run a bubble bath, light a candle, read a book, watch a movie. Like, there's so many little simple things that can make you feel good.
Yeah. And just remind yourself that you're good.
And let go of whatever doesn't serve, even if it's really hard and even if you really want to grasp on. I want to be living proof that it is. That's my mission, So it's good to let go. It's okay to let go. It's one of the many things I'd like to share, but that's a big one.
We've come again.
Full circle. So I guess we're good for this video, yes? I hope you guys like this series. You can find Jenna if you want to do a human design reading in the link below. You know where to find me. And we love you. And get your letting go on.
I love that. I guess that's what kind of
you're welcome.
we're doing anyway, right?
What?
Helping you let go of the toxins, the greens.
Let go so you can welcome in.